Hey everyone, and welcome to the channel. So today we get to take a look at the 2024 Ford Mustang. This is a GT convertible premium. It's finished off in Oxford white, and with the roughly $10,000 worth of options, this model's MSRP is just over $66,000. Now, powering this GT is the 5-liter naturally aspirated V8. This model is paired to the 6-speed manual transmission. It pumps out 486 horsepower, 418 pound-feet of torque. That power is sent to the rear wheels, propelling this 3,900-pound convertible from 0 to 60 in 4.3 seconds. It has a top speed of 155 miles an hour. It also has a fuel capacity of 16 gallons. You'll expect to see around 14 miles per gallon in the city, 23 out on the highway. This also has a wheelbase of 107 inches. Its overall length is 189.4. It has a width of 81.9, a height of 55, and its ground clearance measures in at 5.7 inches. Before we move on to the exterior styling, let's talk about the options that this particular model has. We'll start off with the GT Performance Package, which is roughly $5,000. This also has the Group 401A package, which is $3,000, and then the Bronze Appearance package, which is about $1,000. So that gives you all the bronze accents, of course, and then we have a lot more features to go over. So let's work our way to the front here, where on the top of the hood, there's actually a functional heat extraction vent. It's finished off in gloss black, has a really nice design to it with the rest of the lines, small bulge in that hood too, to give it a great look. Now, all of the gloss black up front has a nice design. You'll notice that the Ford logo, the pony badge, finished off in bronze. There's also some corner lights within that grille as well. And you'll notice too that the DRLs are slowly coming to life. This also has LED headlights, DRLs, turn signals have that sequential design to them, which is nice. Now, being a manual transmission, this also has adaptive cruise. So it does have distance pacing. That sensor is down below, where there's also a lot more cutouts, and then a small front lip spoiler with some great lines on both sides. And then as we work our way to the side, check out these bronze wheels. This also has the large Brembo brake calipers, but these have a nice design to them. 5.0 badge is also finished off in bronze. There's turn signals on the body colored side mirrors. And then, of course, this is the convertible. So we have the soft top up at the moment. You cannot put the top down with the key fob, however. A lot of convertibles can do that. However, you can put the windows down by holding on unlock. Because the soft top has a manual release, that is why it cannot be released with the key. So if it's a hot day, you can at least have them down and then be ready to put the top down. But let's take a look at the top operation really quick. So up top, you will notice that we have the release right there, as well as the top operation for up and down. So you have to pull on this, twist it, and then from there you can push on this button, and that will put the entire top down. And then obviously you can use that button to put it back up as well. And then with it down, I think it has a really good look to it. Obviously, you're buying the convertible, you want to have it down. Either way, I think it looks great, but it gives you that function to have that top-down experience. Now, as we work our way to the rear, you'll notice GT is finished off in bronze. It also says Performance right in the middle there. There's the third brake light, the 3D dimensional taillights that have that sequential turn signal. This does have a backup camera, there's all the parking sensors, and then this particular model also has the active quad-tip dual exhaust. No remote start with the manual transmission, but we will get some revs here in just a second. There's also the lower reverse light there too. Now, you can use the button on the key fob or the hidden button underneath to gain access to the trunk. Now, with this being a convertible, the trunk space is actually not hindered. The soft top folds up just above the top of the deck lid there. So all of your storage is retained. Back seats do not fold down, however. So you have a good bit of space. I've gone grocery shopping with this, putting in some items. It's not all that bad. You have a little bit of space up underneath too, where you can place some additional items. So for a convertible, for this style vehicle, it's exactly what you would expect. So you can still use this as a daily driver. Now, you can use the door handle to lock the vehicle just by grabbing it. You can unlock it. And then take a look at this interior, where there's the red leather. There's also some brushed finish on the release handle. There's memory seating adjustments, all of your window controls, and side mirror adjustments. Now, there's only 3 switches, but there's 4 windows. So you have your driver, your passenger, and then the rear one will do both of the rears at the same time. Mustang is also an illuminating badge down below. And then take a look at the two-tone design for these leather seats. All the power adjustments are down on the side there, and then this even has a set of red seat belts. Now, in order to gain access into the rear, there is a lever on the back of the seat where you can push it forwards from there, and then you do have to push this button to move the seat forward. It won't automatically move forward once you move that backrest. So let's hop into the back. We're at 5'10", not really where I want to be. You do have a good bit of legroom, however, and then we have the windows on both sides. Honestly, I'm not even really slouching that much, so I could ride around town. I had some people in the back. If you're any smaller than 5'7", 5'8", though, it'll be a lot more comfortable. We have some really nice bolstering support, though, to these seats. So they are functional for people, or you can use that for extra storage space as needed. And then you can lock that seat back into place and move it back from there. And then it's a low vehicle, like a sports car should be, but it's still easy to enter and exit. Now with this steering wheel, it's solid and perforated with that flat bottom design to it. There's also some carbon fiber-like trim accents that surround all of these controls. Now on the left side, these are all the cruise and adaptive cruise control settings. You can also go through your modes, which I'll show. And then on the right side, there's volume and tuning along with your steering adjustments, and all of these controls are for the digital gauge cluster. So before we get to that, let's fire this up. With my foot on the brake and the clutch, we can bring this to life. And coming back to the gauge cluster now, this is the track setting. So the tach is running across the top. There's also engine temperature on the left side, fuel on the right side, there's TPMS, and then what gear you're in is right in the middle. Now you can use these controls to go through the different modes, and you can also set it up to where the gauge cluster will change depending on the mode that you are in. So we go into drag strip, it's pretty much the same as track, but we can go into slippery, custom. If we go into normal, this is where it's going to change and not look the same. So now we have more of a traditional view where you have your tach, miles per hour, and also in the normal setting, you can use the arrows now to go through all of this normal information. So if you'd like to see that, you can go to this setting in order to do that, and then pull up all of these vitals. And then you also have the steering wheel control, so you can push on that to go through the 3 different settings for the feedback that you would like to get. Now you can also go through a few more icons by using this pony badge down below. So if we go into cluster theme, which is what we just went through, you can actually match it to the drive mode. So that's how you saw it automatically change. However, you can go into this and change it separately depending on what you'd like to see. There's also the option of the Fox body. So from 87 to 93, this is the diagram. It will light up in green as those models did back in the day. So you can have a tribute to the old school models as another option. Now over on the left side of the steering wheel, there's the headlight adjustments along with some dimmer switches. There's one air vent. And then as we work our way back to the infotainment system, you have a lot that you can go through. So by pushing on home, we get to this menu here where there's navigation. You have the split style on that right side. And then if we go into settings, you have a lot that you can look at. This is all just general information, but you do have the split style as well. So you can still go through info on that right side while you are looking at info on the left. We can go back into features now, where we have the drive assistance. You have My Mustang, which is this here, which we'll come back to, owner's manual, and you still have that info on the right side. And then the last one is apps, so you can get into your Apple CarPlay and your Android Auto. Now if we go back into this screen here, you can go into track apps, where you have your acceleration timer, your brake performance that you can monitor, lap timer, even your launch settings, as this does have launch control. You have the shift indicator. You also have the drift brake too. So this is the e-brake for the new Mustangs, and when you push on drift brake, it allows you to use this as a drift brake instead of just the e-brake itself. There's also line lock, launch control, and the rev matching, which you can turn on and off. There's also the auxiliary gauges, and you can go through what you would like to see here, just depending on that information. You do have a custom mode too, so you can actually go into the different driving modes and have these set up the way that you would like to. So you can go through the rest of this and individually do that, along with the profiles, so you can set that up for the different drivers that you may have. You have my color, so you can go through all of the ambient lighting, and that actually can change the entire gauge cluster. So currently everything is blue because I have it blue, and then for the secondary color, you can actually change that as well. So now the entire tach and miles per hour is yellow. So very cool, you have those adjustments to do. Not many vehicles allow you to do that. And then, like I mentioned earlier, this does have that active exhaust. So this is how we were able to go through those different exhaust sounds by adjusting it on that right side. This is how you can get into your heated and ventilated seats by adjusting that. You also have your temperature dials. There's the heated steering wheel, fan speed, and then you also have where you'd like the air to go, as well as some defrosters too. It's a pretty easy system to use. Everything is laid out very nicely to go through. There's 2 air vents underneath that. And then along with the engine start stop, we have that shortcut. There's traction control, hazards, a favorites button, defroster, and then volume for your audio. Now this also has wireless charging. There's some auxiliaries there. And then with the manual, we can put it into reverse, where you have the large backup camera with the guidelines there, and then we have the rest of the 6 gears to go through, of course. Now we have the e-brake. When you just pull it up, that is how you engage the e-brake. Push it down, that is how you can release it. And then when you change it to the drift brake, of course, you can use it for those conditions. Now there's 2 cup holders, and then a little bit of storage in the center armrest there. There's even more in the glove box. You have the Mustang badge just above that. And then there's the rear view mirror along with the dome lights and even some garage door buttons too. And then here's a look at visibility with the top up. It's been pretty easy to see all around. Those pillars aren't all that bulky. And then obviously when the top is down, you have no obstructions, but even over that left shoulder without a pillar, it's easy to see. So behind the wheel now for the Ford Mustang GT. This is definitely a fun muscle car to drive. It's not the first time I've been able to drive the new Mustang, but it is the first manual that we have had, and it's a lot of fun. I like the performance technology that you get with this vehicle, and I think the GT is a good sweet spot for the trim level to go with. So the EcoBoost has the 4-cylinder. If you really want that American muscle car, you go with the V8. And of course you can get higher trim levels, but I think the GT is just the good option to go with. And you can also spec it with a lot of different options. So like I've mentioned, this one has about 10 grand worth of options. And we also have launch control. So I want to enable that. We have a little bit of a slick conditions today. So I am going to put the RPM down to around 4,000, mash the gas, and then we will let the clutch out. Here we go. Woo! So that's quick. That's definitely fun. We might have spun a little bit on that bridge there, but that was some dry conditions for the bridge. And that was I would say that was a good launch for the first time I did that. So you can also do that if you want with this car, which is a lot of fun. And we have the active rev matching there, which is nice. You can turn it on and off just depending on your driving. I will say that the brake and the gas pedal are a little bit far away, so it does take a little bit of time to do the rev matching yourself. So if I shut it off, obviously in a straight line it's easy to do, but if you have your foot on the brake pedal too, they're just a little off. So having the rev matching there is nice. And what I really like is if you want to downshift, this is something that's pretty cool. You can row through the gears, it'll auto rev match for you, which I know a lot of people would rather do themselves, but even some technology like that, it's still cool if you want to use it and not focus on that, focus on something else. But this has been a really fun vehicle to drive. It's been pretty practical. I've had some people in the back, and if you're just looking for a muscle car, the GT is great. I think that the new updates are really nice too. I like the newer screen. I like the new exterior design. And even with a convertible, this handles well. It's definitely a little bit on the heavy side, but I've been able to rip around. It's just been a lot of fun. And from second gear, here we go. So behind the wheel for the Ford Mustang now, what I really like about this car is the shifter. The shifter it feels like a short throw. The gears are so tight that you can sometimes go into the wrong gear, but I do like the close proximity of all of the gears. You don't have very much movement in this to be able to row through all the gears. So I think that is very nice to be able to go through it. Clutch pedal is super light too. So honestly, you could make this a daily driver. A lot of people daily drive the Ford Mustang, and I definitely could see this being great for that. Now, as far as the soft top goes, for the driving that I've been doing, highway speeds, things like that, it's not really that loud. It feels pretty composed for having the soft top. However, I will say in the rain, you can hear it. It's almost kind of got that like tin roof effect to it, where if you've been in a building with a tin roof and it rains, you can hear it a lot more than a regular house built with, you know, a normal roof. So it's a little bit louder in the rain, and obviously that's a different type of condition for that, but it's not bad. I wouldn't let that deter you from buying this, because you're buying the convertible mainly to have the top down in that beautiful weather. But it is nice for just normal driving too. And I've really enjoyed driving this. There's so many different drive modes that I showed earlier where you can set this up the way that you want to, as far as your displays go, as far as your track or your suspension, your steering, your exhaust. So much to do with this vehicle that it just gives you a well-rounded car to daily drive, and then to take to some back roads and have some fun with the performance driving that you can do. Now, it's a little bit wet over on this road here, but let's do a launch control again, which is why I put the RPM to a lower range. So here we go. Well, we lost traction there, which was an obvious. But even things like that, you can have fun just doing some driving like that, and then even have the top down. Now, I'm not going to put the top down for the video just because of the audio purposes, but it's nice that you can put the windows down, leave the top up, or just put the whole top down and get that open top experience. So it's like any other convertible, and you know, like a motorcycle, just being out with all of the wind and the beautiful days. But definitely a fun vehicle. I think this is my favorite part too, with the rev matching on. You could just have some fun like that. Obviously you can learn to do that yourself, but even something like that, it's fun to drive. I like the position of the seat here. Steering wheel is a good size too. I do think it's a little bit large, but it's got good grips on both sides, and it's very comfortable. So this would be a great daily driver. You can get a coupe too, or the automatic transmission, but I really like the manual in the new GT. It's a lot smoother feeling and shifting than the previous manuals from Ford, and it's a great place to be. So that is going to wrap it up for the 2024 Ford Mustang GT. If you enjoyed today's video, give it a huge thumbs up and consider smashing that subscribe button so you don't miss out on our daily uploads. And I will see you all in the next video.